What's going on, everybody? Got another video here today. We're talking about crystals and what kind of crystals you should build. There's a lot of crystal diversity in BDO, and depending if you're trying to do PvP or PvE, there's a really big diversity there I want to choose, and I'm going to try to help you guys choose the correct crystals today. This video is made possible by my supporters on my Twitch channel at Potion Shop TV on Twitch. Thank you for everyone who supports me through subs, primes, and tips. If you're just following and watching, thank you so much for all the people who support me over there on my channel. Alright, so basically understanding crystals, we need to understand why we need crystals, right? Obviously, we get stats. That's pretty obvious. But what kind of stats can we get in the game? Well, you can get AP. You can get accuracy. You can get DR, damage reduction. Or you can get evasion. Let's call it EV for evasion. Alright, so this is basically what you can get in the game, right? And in order to pick your crystals, you need to figure out what situation you're currently in. So in PvP, currently people build what? They build evasion and they build AP. Those are the two primary sets that people build. So if you are doing PvP, you want to either have resistance crystals, which is kind of a third thing in here. So you want to either build resistance crystals, or you want to build AP, or you want to build evasion. And you do need enough accuracy so you can hit your abilities, so your AP actually matters. And if you're building evasion, you basically don't need any DR. And if you're building DR, you basically don't want any evasion, right? You want to focus all the stats possible into DR, or all the stats possible into evasion. Now, obviously, you can't build a pure evasion build or a pure DR build. That's not possible in BDO, but it does give you the basics. So we're going to take PvP at the start here. For PvP crystals, generally people want to build resistance crystals. You'll have like red battlefield crystals in your boots. You'll have ignore resistance, which is the you have ignore resistance in your offhand and in your main hand generally. If you're looking for a little bit more DPS, you might end up putting critical crystals in your offhand. For PvE, we're going to take the same approach, right? We need to know what the mobs have for their defense. We need to know what the mobs have primarily for their offense. So generally for PvE, all the Hadoom grind spots typically have DR. That's what the Hadoom grind spots have. And grind spots in Valencia, like Sakraya, Star's End, Kama Sylvia, Odalita, all those spots have evasion. So if you're grinding one of those grind spots, you're going to typically need to have more accuracy in order to counter the mob's defense. If you are in Hadoom, you want to have more AP or more additional damage or critical damage in order to counter the DR. And so then you have to also understand what kind of monsters are you fighting. So if you're fighting some monsters, it's better to have a DR build, and some monsters it's typically better to have a evasion build. Right now, the way BDO is balanced in PvE, most grind spots, DR and evasion ends up being fairly similar for newer players, and for super in-game players, evasion is slightly more tanky at most grind spots in the game, but it's only slightly. And the benefit of DR is that you get base gloves, gives you more accuracy. So going back to the whole crystal thing, let's give you some actual builds. I currently have a crystal build for Hadoom, which means I need as much additional damage as possible, and as much AP as possible to counter their DR. So you can see here that I have red battlefield crystals in my main hand, in my boots, in my helmet, and in my chest. And then in my offhand, I have extra AP and monster AP. And over here in my gloves, I have Vipers, because you do need some accuracy. And losing 40 accuracy is not worth it. So I actually playtested this build quite a bit to figure out what was the best items for it. I used to have 4 Hanhooms, which is basically a whole bunch of accuracy, which is very good to counter the evasion builds in, like I said before, Valencia, Sakraya, Star's End, Kama Sylvia, Odalita, all those spots. But going to Hadoom, I didn't really need the accuracy. And especially playing a Sage, I have extra accuracy bonuses anyway. It was even less important. So I originally did 3 crystals, Cobalinus, Red Battlefield Cobalinus, Red Battlefield Harfia, and Red Battlefield Hystria, and these all offer additional human damage. And we'll have another video on how human damage works, but all you have to know is it adds additional. It's basically a similar stat to AP, just a little weaker. And I originally here, what I had in my main hand was I had 2 Elcar crystals for the accuracy. And so I originally did not replace my Elcar crystals, and so I tested it out with the Red Battlefield crystals first at the Hadum grind spots. And for people who are new or haven't been playing the game in a while, Hadum is updated Serendia currently. There's going to be additional Hadum grind spots where they update maybe like Caltheon or Medea. But currently, as of making this video, Hadum is currently only Serendia, and the monsters have a lot of DR. So going back to the crystal build here, I tested if Elcars or Red Battlefield crystals were more important for the main hand. And the truth is that it is about the same, because there's at some point, if you start losing too much accuracy, you're not hitting your abilities enough anymore. So I think Elcars in the main hand, I think you just keep those in there because they also are extremely good for PvP, where the Red Battlefield crystals here are not really good for PvP because most people in PvP are running evasion, right? They're not running a DR build. So this would be a really good crystal setup maybe for a DR build to counter DR builds, but it's not very good for the current evasion meta in PvP. So I think if you already have Elcars, leave those in there, and they're not worth changing to Red Battlefield crystals for the sake of grinding in Hadum. And so a lot of people will probably ask, why are you using Rebellious Spirit crystals instead of Corruption crystals? Corruption crystals, for people who don't know, add critical damage and a little bit of AP. So this is why Corruption Crystal is, right? Officers 10 critical damage, 2 AP, and then if you have 2 of these in your offhand, you get an additional 2 critical hit, 2 damage, 2% damage, right? So that ends up being a total of 22% critical damage overall and 4 AP. But the reason I'm not doing this is because I'm currently running a DR build, and this would lower my DR by 4. So it's counterproductive for me to run DR in minus DR in my offhand. Now, once I get a little bit more DP and I don't have to worry about, my DP anymore in the game because I just have so much of it, then I think it's probably better for this overall raw DPS output to swap to Corruption Crystals. But right now with my DP, I still have a few scares when I'm at a grind spot. People can still pick me up and feed me to mobs occasionally. So I want to get more gear scores so I can start avoiding those type of activities. And I can PvP better at a grind spot in open world. So this is a personal choice. If you're looking for raw DPS, then you should go with Corruption Crystals in your offhand. If you're looking for a hybrid mix for a DR build, then Rebellious Spirit Crystals are really good. And if you're just looking for something that is kind of good for PvP and PvE, then you would pick the Red Spirit Crystal because it has AP and human damage. So that kind of gives hopefully a little bit of understanding of what's going on, how I picked it. Now, for some people, what they want to know now is, okay, well, I'm not grinding Hadum. I'm grinding at Hystria or Sakraya or Stars Inn, or I'm trying to grind some other grind spot that has high evasion mobs. What kind of build should I go for? And so the offhand crystals are the same. You're always going to use Vipers, and you'll stick with the Elcars for your main hand, since we already confirmed that those are already the best for in slot. So the real question comes down to, what are you going to be using in your boots and your helmet, and in your boots, helmet, and your chest? And so the answer for this is Hanhums. We mentioned it earlier. So Hanhums, they give you when you have 4 of these, you get both the set effects. So you get the 2 crystal set effect, and you get the 4 set effect. So in this case, you would get the DR, and you get the evasion from both sets, and you get the accuracy as well. So that's 8 accuracy total. And then when they're Hums, each crystal itself gives 2 accuracy. So the grand total here is 16 accuracy is what you would get, which is extremely, extremely good. So you get 16 accuracy. Generally, if you are if you're going for full PvE, then what you would do is you would actually do... That is not what I need. Generally, if you're going full PvE, you would get Macroload. You get 2 Macroload and 4 Hanhum. You get 4 Hanhum and 2 Macroload. If you want to do a hybrid between defense and offense for PvE, then what you do is you do 4 Hanhum. And then if you're a DR build in your chest, what you would run instead is you would run 2 of the Dark Red Vein Crystals for an additional 14 DR and 2 all resistance, or 4 all resistance. If you're an evasion build, you would go to your helmet instead, and you would run a Jin Harfia, and so you do 2 Hanhums in the boots, 2 Hanhums in the chest, and then you would do, in your helmet you would do 2 Harfias. And hopefully that kind of explains it. So kind of to summarize this a little better, the goal for your crystals, depending on where you're trying to grind in PvE, is going to be one of 2 primary builds. Either, if you can't survive at the grind spot, your first thing is going to be defense. Right? That's your first option. Once you can survive the grind spot, then you're going to go for either AP or you're going to go for accuracy. And which one you go for entirely depends based on where you're grinding. And so I've given you some options for accuracy crystals, right? Which is Hanhum, Elkar, obviously Vipers, and then your AP crystals. These are human damage crystals, so they work at Bloody Monastery and Baragi Den for Hadum. They do not work for Thogans, Swamp Nagas, or what's it called? Red Orcs. They don't work for any of those. All right, so now you know how to do this. Now we need to talk about the PvP crystals, because resistances are really, really huge in PvP. We mentioned this really quickly, but I wanted to go over which ones. So you still want to have Hanhums, because you still need accuracy. So you're going to go Elkars in your main hand. You're going to go 4 Hanhums. For your Hanhums, it is a little subjective where you're going to put them, because typically in the boots, you're typically going to run red battlefield crystals, adamantines, for the extra resistance. So you're typically going to run 1 or 2 adamantines in your boots. And so that's going to be, since you have that there, you cannot put Hanhums there. And so typically people would put Hanhums in either their chest or the helmet, or both. And then their option would be to not put crystals in your main hand or your awakening weapon, and instead put Hanhums in your main hand. And the reason I say that is because some people want the extra evasion in the helmet or the extra DR in the chest. So there's a little bit more there. And also the PvP for the chest, typically what people are doing right now for the chest is they are doing... Do we have any of these new crystals yet? I don't think we have any listed in the marketplace yet. There's a new crystal with special evasion. I guess we don't have it in the game quite yet. But people typically right now are running 2 special evasion in the chest. And then they're running 4 Hanhums, 2 in the helmet, 2 in the Dandelion. That's currently how the current meta is going. 2 adamantines in here, 2 Elkars. And the offhand, they're either doing corruption or 2 of the ignore resistance. So you can put here, you can have ignore resistance crystals in here. And so sometimes people are running 2 of those in there instead of the corruption. And if you're looking for survivability, then there's the rebellious spirit crystal again, or the red spirit crystal. So hopefully it gives you an overview of crystals and kind of like the options. It's not really that hard once you wrap your head around it a little bit. It's really defense first. Once you have enough defense to survive, then it's working on either AP or accuracy. For PvP right now, it's always accuracy, 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 and resistance. For PvE, if you're working on accuracy, it typically is because you're at Histria, Sakraya, Starzin, Kama Sylvia, Odalita. And if you're working on AP or additional damage, then you're doing that because you're grinding out a Hadum grind spot. In this case, it's Serendia currently is the only one available. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of what crystals are in the video. I might make a more comprehensive video in the future that has a little bit more work put into it, so you guys can understand it a little easier with the little icons on the screen and stuff. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in me doing another video of this, or something that I missed, or something you think I messed up in the video, feel free to put a comment down below. And thank you again to people who support me on Twitch.